started on a beautiful day. A soldier has come home. Surprise a little family today. They're finally home and home. And they're standing by your side every time you call. Yes, they're standing by your side every time you call.
Hi folks, Bill Peters here with another edition of The Slice. This is slice number 48. Yeah, lots going on right now, but we're going to take it back a few years. And today we're going to talk about Operation High Jump. Operation High Jump, as many of you may know, was an Admiral Byrd operation. Took like almost a little over 4,000 troops with him to the Antarctic for some odd reason. Came back rather suddenly, 2 weeks into it. But let's look at some different footage and we'll start with some clips and some interviews and different edited clips on the Operation High Jump, and then we'll discuss what we watched. Okay, so yeah, so let's get on with it and enjoy the show, folks.
What do we know about Operation High Jump, about Admiral Byrd's expedition in the autumn of 46, the early spring of 47, to the South Pole? This is an expedition that has been almost forgotten, and it's very hard to come up with any information about it. The few articles that were published at that time in, let's say, National Geographic magazine would not give any clue to the real intention of that expedition. However, recently we discovered a unique documentary film in color, 1 hour long, made by the U.S. Navy, an armed submarine and probably another 20 supply and battleships. It involved 4,000 troops, U.S. troops, and the rumor is that there were also British and Russian contingents within these 4,000 troops. It was a massive naval operation. It was not, as it has been presented to the public, that it was a peaceful expedition to explore the natural resources of the South Pole. They descended to Little America, which is the place of the previous Admiral Byrd landings on the South Pole. And then they started a massive overflight over the whole area of the South Pole, trying to locate the German base that was established there almost 10 years earlier. The Germans started somewhere in 1936-37, seriously exploring the South Pole. And by the time the war ended, the rumor is that they have established a massive underground colony with at least 100,000 scientists, researchers, elite SS troops, anti-gravity devices that were operated by the Germans there, by anti-gravity saucers. A lot of them crashed into invisible barriers and disintegrated in mid-flight. This is an indication that the Germans had already perfected the force field shields, and they were up and operational around the German colony at Neuschwabenland. When he was retreating, basically the whole operation lasted for 1 week. They started at the end of February 47, and by the first week of March, they were through with the whole operation, and much earlier than scheduled, and they departed. And in an interview at Buenos Aires on his way back, Admiral Byrd made the incredible statement that the Third World War would probably be with an adversary coming from the polar regions of our planet.
Okay, so this guy that you just heard, I like a lot of his background information and everything, but what bothers me is the fact that there's no definitive source for the airplanes hitting the invisible barriers, where did this information come from? I've looked in, since Matthew Bowers set me on this quest, before I even started my show, I was just talking about it. He always said, do an Operation High Jump. The problem is why it took 48 of them to get to this point, is there's such a plethora of information out there, and there is so much conflicting information. Now, if you send 4,000 plus men to the South Pole, first of all, what happens is you have 4,000 witnesses. Okay, with that many people involved in that operation, let's figure 500 of them would have seen exactly why we were pulling out, for instance. If that's the case, then there has to be descendants of, or these people themselves, that went on this little adventure, that would have that information either in a journal or handed down stories. We should be able to find relatives that have this information that we need. This is the difference between a legend, a myth, and what comes together as being factual history. What did they find there? Did they find it? Did they talk to somebody? You know, I have a hard time believing that there is no further documentation available. Even if it's handed down information to relatives, that's usually pretty accurate stuff. So I think that's where we should go next, get a list of the people deployed on that Operation High Jump. Freedom of Information Act should make that perfectly available. And from there, do the associated research into interviewing family members and such. It would be great if we had some kind of foundation set up that we could go to and with these questions and have them follow up. Maybe it's time we made one. But if I have the resources, I'd do it. But anyway, that's not the case at this point. Maybe sometime in the future. But anyway, folks, that's the show. It's pretty much a breakdown. It doesn't go into anything on the North Pole. This is pretty much just, do you think there's a base underneath there that we found? If the interview in Chile kind of tells you that something happened, whether these other rumors are true or not, that remains to be seen. Further research and proof is needed before I would sign on with that. However, I'm not saying there's no base under there, because I'm very sure there is, because we do have evidence. 250,000 people missing out of the country that don't account for, they even took a percentage off for missing bodies and stuff. It's a huge number that disappeared. Where'd they go? They probably had gone prior to the end of the war. I know that Hitler found it in the 30s, before the war started. And he was down there messing around. So, he did a lot in that time period, built a lot of other stuff too. So, with all the natural resources seemingly right on site, he might have been alright. But, I don't know. It's one of those mind-boggling moments in history that there is so much out. Hell, I've seen parts of Antarctica, but never the warm areas, and that would be something to look at. You would think that people would gravitate to that area if they were under the ground even. So with that being said, then that area there should be an entry to something nearby. Just a thought. Too bad we weren't allowed to go there anymore, huh? But anyway, that's our show this week, and see you next week with another edition of The Slice. Thanks, folks. Good night. Just kidding, I changed my mind. I had to have some more to say. First, before I forget it, make sure you check out Clarence Mitchell and his Blog Talk Radio. It's quite a lot of fun, so if you can catch a few of them, that would be great. You can always, I believe, listen to the past ones as well. Some of them are funny, and some of them are quite informative, and sometimes both. So, Kimberly's got a new chat going, so I'd check that out if I was you, Kimberly Wright. Watch for her live chats. I can't even remember what series they're covering right now, but anyway, also go see Matthew Bauer's sites. He's the chief administrator of this site and the owner of www.therealmj12eyes-to-the-sky.com, and you'll want to check that out. Also, check out the Facebook page, New Emotion. Check that music out if you like it. Definitely like and share and all that happy stuff. Okay, now back to Operation High Jump. I've got thinking about it, and in order to disprove flat Earth, because flat earthers are going to say that the barrier that they were running into is the firmament that keeps us from leaving the edge of the Earth, because it's flat. And Antarctica supposedly goes around the outside edge. Now, if you want to disprove that, you position one group of people, obviously they don't let you go over it anymore apparently, facing in the direction towards an area opposite of them, and then have another group of people go to that spot, and from there shoot something across so that they can see it at least, and they should be able to see it in front of them. If there's some kind of barrier, shouldn't stop that from happening. Shoot up a super bright ultra flare. It should be, as long as they're facing the direction that supposedly they're supposed to be, they should see it. If they don't see it, the Earth's flat. Right? What better method could you have of testing that theory out than that right there? So I say we can solve flat Earth theory in one expedition, cut and dry. Don't even have to go on the continent if you do it right. You shoot up something that is a super flare that can be seen all the way across. And it might have to be pretty damn bright if it's as big as they say it is. It's supposed to be as big as the United States. If that's true, then that's 3,100 miles across. Have to be one hell of a flare. It would be nice to see if two planes could meet in the middle, something. There are planes capable of making that trek, but you might have to refuel most of them. I don't even think a U.S. jet could do that trip. Maybe some of them. But either way, it's a big ass piece of land. And I bet you if it is all one piece that they haven't even touched. I mean, we barely explored all of ours. So, not officially anyway. So, yeah, it's a big conundrum, and it's even more of a conundrum if it's all underground. Yikes. If there is a barrier there, and this is flat Earth, then I'm amazed. Because I can't see how that's possible. It just doesn't make sense. Nothing in any kind of science says that's possible. But anyway, folks, you have a great afternoon, evening, this night for me. I'm tired as hell, so next time I'll try do a morning filming and I'll be alright. Either which way, have a great day, folks, and this is Bill Peters with a Slice saying good night.
And then stand by your side every time you call.